If your senior team can't challenge you respectfully, they will default eventually to compliance. And compliance is quiet, but it's not committed. A strong team around you is the one where people can say, I'm not sure that is the right move. Have you or have we considered this? And what are the unintended consequences of this decision? That level of dialogue requires a sense of leadership maturity. And it also requires you as the head, as the leader, to model that openness. This is Headship After Hours. Over 25 years in education, more than a decade in headship and executive leadership. In fact, I grew up attending a challenging school and I was told I would never make headship. And that drove me to where I am today. I've led some of the most complex schools in the UK, improving behaviour, stabilising attendance and rebuilding culture, strengthening retention and, of course, restoring community trust. I've carried the full weight of inspections, accountability, parental scrutiny, system pressure that I'm sure you feel too. I've got a Future Leaders Alumni qualification in NPQH, NPQL and a Level 7 accredited coaching. But more importantly, I still lead. I'm still a head teacher. I still work in schools and I still support head teachers navigating difficult realities. This is not theory and I'm not coming from the sidelines. This is a lived experience. I know what the weight feels like and of course can feel like on a daily basis. This space exists to share that, reflect on it and build something more sustainable together. A podcast for school leaders who carry real responsibility. I'm Paul Collin. Let's talk. There comes a point in headship when you realise something fundamental. You cannot carry this alone. Not sustainably, not strategically, or not well. And yet, many head teachers do try that. We try because we care. We try because we're obviously capable. And we try because stepping in feels faster than building capacity. But here's the truth. If everything important depends on you, the system that you are creating is fragile. And fragility creates exhaustion. When I look back at schools I've led, the turning point was never just policy. It was people, specifically how the team around me evolved. Building the team around you is not about having strong personalities in the room. It's about clarity of role, shared ownership, and trust that decisions can be made without you being the gravitational center of every decision. There are 3 shifts for me that changed the game. Number 1, stop hiring for loyalty and start hiring for strength. Early in leadership, it really is tempting to build a team of people who you think that you like, that you agree with, who support you without friction. But the truth of that statement is it's just safe. It feels safe. But safe is not always strong. Strong teams have difference. They challenge. They bring alternative thinking. They fill your blind spots. The best senior teams I've built were not made up of mini versions of me. They were made up of leaders who had strengths that I didn't. And I had to be secure enough in my own leadership self to allow that to happen. Number 2, make ownership visible. One of the most important cultural shifts in leadership teams is, I think, visible ownership. If your staff always say, I'll just go and check with the head, your structure is not complete. A sustainable team allows leaders at every level to say, this is my area, this is my decision, this is my responsibility. That sense of accountability. Of course, it doesn't remove accountability. It distributes it. And when ownership is visible, trust grows. When trust grows, speed increases. And when speed increases without chaos, culture strengthens. Number 3, create psychological safety at the top. And there is a misconception that senior teams must be relentlessly composed. Actually, the healthiest teams I've worked in have an honest disagreement sort of zone, not conflict, not ego, but professional friction. If your senior team can't challenge you respectfully, they will default eventually to compliance. And compliance is quiet, but it's not committed. A strong team around you is the one where people can say, I'm not sure that is the right move. Have you or have we considered this? And what are the unintended consequences of this decision? That level of dialogue requires a sense of leadership maturity. And it also requires you as the head, as the leader, to model that openness. Authority is not weakened by listening. It is absolutely strengthened by it. And building the team around you also means investing in them. Time in development, time in coaching, time in clarity of conversation. We often expect middle leaders to grow through pressure alone. Pressure without development produces one thing, and that's stress. Pressure with development produces growth. If you want to reduce your own weight, build capacity and capability around you. There is something else worth saying clearly, though. You are not replaced by a strong team. You are multiplied. When you build well, your leadership extends beyond your own capacity. And that's not losing control. That is building resilience. If you're listening and thinking, my team's not there yet, well, that is normal. Teams evolve. Teams are built and trust is built over time. But start with honesty. What am I holding that someone else could own? Where am I stepping in too quickly? And where could clarity reduce confusion? Sustainable headship is not about being indispensable. It's about building a system that does not collapse if you take a day off or if you're out of the building. The strongest leaders I know are not the busiest. They are the most deliberate about who stands beside them. And beside you is exactly where your next layer of strength lives. If something in this episode resonated, sit with it for a moment. Leadership is not meant to be carried in silence. If this conversation helped you feel less alone, then that matters. This is Headship After Hours. I'm Paul Collin, and we'll keep talking and stay connected.